Hello and welcome back to Business Coffee Break with Deanna. I'm Deanna Hens, digital marketing strategist, speaker, proud supporter of messy hair buns and comfy clothes, and multi-purpose entrepreneur that believes that everyone can create a life they love. Each week, I'm bringing you information that will inspire, educate, and challenge you in growing your business online. Thanks for spending time with me today. So grab your coffee and let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Business Coffee Break with Deanna. I am super excited to have my next guest on. And you're going to know why. Hannah is a personal friend of mine, and we have known each other for some time now. And during that time, Hannah used to make wine. And I don't know if she's still doing wine. I think she does. We're going to find out because I see her more in another arena, but we're going to find out everything. And let me just tell you that this chick is totally killing it. Absolutely killing it. She's got a great story. She is an amazing person. She is just so awesome. And I'm so excited that finally, after asking her a million times to talk to me on the podcast, she finally agreed to join in. So Hannah Ferguson is the owner of Dope Brands Cider House and Winery, and also Ohio's first Black female professional brewer. Now that is something to be totally stoked about and something that I am proud of her for. So I know she has to be proud of that. But welcome to the show, Hannah. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I do apologize for it being so long. I was like, I'm horrible.
You know what? You're busy. And I was seeing you all over social media. I mean, doing your thing. You have a new location. You exploded overnight. And I know that's probably what it looks like to a lot of people, right? Because it's like, oh, it was so easy for Hannah. I mean, you know, she just connected with the right people and pow, she's got this great business and it's really, really easy to do what she's doing. And it's not, is it?
Not at all.
Let's take it back. Before we talk about what you're doing right now, I want to take it back to when probably the last time you and I saw each other in person, which was, I think that was at Audra's house at Christmas, maybe.
Yeah.
When she had that
I saw you right before you were leaving. Remember you were selling your stuff out your office? So I saw you briefly before you left. But then other than that, it was Audra's house for Christmas. But I think when they say when we probably met 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's when I was going through the WE program.
Yep.
At the Women's Entrepreneurship Program here in Youngstown at the YBI.
Great program, by the way, if anybody's listening. Youngstown Business Incubator, Stephanie Gilchrist. Good program.
And so, you met me, literally when I was writing a business canvas, trying to figure this out. So, here I am, 5-6 years later.
I love it. So you started with wine, and that's what you had when we met. And let me just tell you, everybody's listening, Hannah can make some wine. This wine was so good. It was so good. And I remember us talking about what it takes to start a brand with wine. Yeah. And it just seemed like so much red tape in those early phases. You were telling me all the research you did and what it would take to do that. And I was feeling overwhelmed. I'm like, gosh, it's a lot of work. How did you move from wine to beer and cider? How did that transition all happen?
Well, with the wine, the wine actually started as a hobby. So that was just my household hobby. I was like, oh, I can make my own wine for cheaper than it is to buy a store-bought. And so it started from there. And then once I started to just research the industry more, and then a lot of encouragement from my family and friends. That's when I started to hey, maybe I can pursue this as a business. Because I'm thinking when you think about making wine, you think oh, you have to have land, you have to have a vineyard, you have to, have all this schooling and all this training. And once I started to do the research, and I was and more the urban wineries started to become very popular. And those are basically wineries that are usually in inner cities that they don't have a vineyard, but we source our juice from a local winery that can possibly press it and everything like that for us. And we just get the fresh pressed juice. So we went from there. And then just like with beer, it was just like, again, my curiosity brain just started going because like I like beer, I like craft beer. And so I'm just like, hey, how do you make this? Like, again, I had no clue about the industry. And that's when I got the opportunity with Modern Methods in Warren, Ohio. They were opening, in the process of opening, when I met the owners. And by chance, like myself and Sarah, who's Adam's wife, one of the owners of Modern Methods, her and I were part of a leadership cohort together for the state of Ohio. She would bring beer, I would bring wine, and we just started to connect from there. So I kind of just started like kind of just helping out, like, hey, can I just come see the process, things like that. So it went from like me like coming in there at least like a couple times till I think I want to say like maybe 6 months, 7 months later, they reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in a position. So as assistant brewer, so I was like, yeah, definitely, because like again, this is another opportunity just to learn and to get more involved in the industry. So with that, I was there 2.5 years, and I'm very thankful for that opportunity. Like I will never take that for granted because they took a risk on me.
Yeah.
Again, I was not a beer background. Like I didn't even know beer was cooked. So that's the funny part. So I thought it was just like wine. You just put it in there and let it ferment. So it was definitely a great experience and opportunity to get to learn that. And then as going through that process, like you hear about cider, because still cider is it's not at the top of a lot of people's list on things to drink. And people always think that cider falls into the beer category, and it actually doesn't. Cider falls under the wine category.
Really?
So,
I did not know that.
yeah, because it's just fresh pressed apple cider straight from an orchard,
Yeah.
juice, and it's that juice into fermentations, into fermenters, just like wine. Wine is juice into your fermenter, add the yeast, and then the cool thing about apples it doesn't take as long as wine. If you talk to I got the opportunity to go to a cider convention, a couple of months ago. And some of the serious people who have orchards, different things like that, sometimes you can do the process that can take as long as wine. You can do and have it just clear up naturally. You can have it ferment naturally with just on its own yeast. So it's been like that type of learning experience with that. And it's like I said, the cool thing is under the state of Ohio, cider and wine are under the same license. So I have the opportunity to be able to make both. And being the fact that, there's so many people I feel like that are in the wine game, and I love wine, but now I think I love the challenge of breaking into the cider industry, a little bit more. And then also just truly like introducing it to people of color, to women. Again, like I said, it's almost like a new beverage that has been around for a long time, and people are slowly discovering it, and they're also realizing that it's not beer. Sometimes, like people be like, "Oh, I don't like cider. I don't like beer." I'm just like, "Hey, it's not beer. It just happens to be it's just a fermented, or a carbonated apple juice. Like that's hard." So is so I love the fact that I can definitely take on this challenge. And you mentioned earlier in the opening, I was recognized at my time as being like the first Black professional female brewer in the state of Ohio. And since I like challenges, so I've now become the first Black female owned cidery in the state of Ohio. And I think I'm like number two, or they say like 1.5, two in the United States, because I believe the other person there is a group of them. So
Okay.
he's one part of an ownership of a cidery here. So it's kind of crazy.
Wow. Wow. So I'm going to back it up a little bit. When you were at Modern Methods and you were
Uh-huh.
helping out,
Yeah.
and the owner came to you after 6 months of helping, asking you if you wanted to work there. At that point, did you think, like, I could see myself creating a brand? Because you had the dope brands, you've had the
Hmm.
name with
Yeah.
the wine. So did you see incorporating that at that time? Or were you still kind of like, I just want to learn and it's a
Um,
challenge, it's interesting?
I think like with the wine and the beer, I think beer was just it was just like the wine was still the goal. And I think the beer part was just like, hey, you get to learn another skill in like this whole fermentation world. And like you get to learn, you're working under two amazing home brewers, Adam and Jeff, like are they make
Yeah.
some amazing beer. And then like and it's just like almost like kind of like just adding on. And then also it was, to me, I looked at it once I got truly into the beer industry, and then you just also just look at the numbers, and you look at the minorities, the people of color in that population in the beer industry, that a lot of people don't think we drink beer. A lot of people don't think like we make
Really?
craft beer, and it's a huge industry.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I used to talk to Adam and Jeff about it. It's just also there's the craft beer industry. It's just an industry that they're not sure how to attract more people of color. Because like it's easy for, if you look at like spirits, it's
Yeah.
easy for them to grab a rapper or someone in an entertainment industry and like grab onto that vodka, to that rum, and promote it that way. And beer is just a little bit more challenging. But for these past 2-3 years, I've seen it grow, but we're still less than 1% in the whole craft beer industry in the United States
Wow. Why
in
do you think that
ownership.
is?
I think it just goes in it's like it comes down to like being a startup, and then capital, and a lot of states also have different rules. I met a guy down, I believe in Florida, like they have to submit like their proposal in order to see if they can actually get this space and to be able to make beer and to become a brewery in that location. So it's like so many like different type of like red tape that we have to go through in order to to make it through in this industry.
Yep. Yes.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the industry like that. So it was like I was thankful to kind of like to be a part of that, still a part of it, and just being a part of it, and like just like telling my story,
Yes.
and like letting people know like and things like that people don't know, and just getting the word out there. But it's definitely like an industry I love, and I definitely would love to, continue brewing, either it's just for fun, or you never know what what the future holds. So
So true. It's definitely true. So you start making beer or learning beer. You've always done wine. And how did you get then into the cider from the beer? Did you learn that at Modern Methods as well, or did you
no, it
learn
was
that?
just like it was kind of like just trial and error with the cider. But once I figured out like, hey, it's part of the wine industry, I can do this. And then it was like it was crazy during the pandemic. And again, this is where
Really?
like I learned you meet people in this industry, and you know how like here Modern Methods, we were close to Birdfish in Columbiana. um I got the opportunity to meet the owners of Sundog Cidery out there in
Okay.
Columbiana. And kind of like me and one of the owners, her and I just hit it off, Nicole Ice. And we hit it off from there. And it was just like she knew what I was pursuing or what I wanted to do. And one day we finally both had the time, and it happens to fall kind of during like right before the world shut down. We actually got the opportunity to link up, and we're able to do a collaboration with the Cider. And so we released it during the pandemic, like June or July during 2020. But it had a great turnout. People came out to support it. One of the local restaurants kept it on tap for a while, and that
Oh,
was kind of
awesome.
like my dope breakthrough professionally in the cider world is with that collaboration. And then, like I said, then just from there, it was like, you have your peak and then it goes down and it's almost like you feel like it's flatlining. And then so it was just like, and then like just fast forwarding it to the beginning of 2021, where I literally I was gonna quit. I was just gonna be like, you know what? It's just
Really?
like it was just becoming like, I've been working on this for 5 years, and just, trying to get the capital, trying to find a location, because you can't do anything without both. And then I'm just like, even if I had the capital, I don't have the location. And then once you have the location, there's so much other red tape that you're spending the capital that you have
Yeah.
before you even get started. But at the beginning of 2021, or I believe at the end of 2020, Penguin City Brewing Company in Youngstown bought a 30,000 square foot warehouse. And it was just like, it was just weird. It was because I knew Aspasia and Richie just from the industry, the beer industry.
Yeah.
And that's how we knew each other, but we never talked or we never did anything. And it was kind of like word of mouth from a few people in Youngstown. One of our friends, Jacob Harver and Derek McDowell, they actually, when they got the space, they were like, you need to talk to Hannah. You need to talk to Hannah. And they were like, why do we need to talk to Hannah? Hannah, mother message. And then they actually told them what I had been trying to do for so long. And it was just crazy because like she reached out to me and Spacia reached out to me and she's like, hey, come see your space. We're doing an open house. We're letting people see the space. And
Come
I'm
see your
like,
space.
sure, I'll just come and I'll come check out the warehouse. It's like right down the street for me. It's local. It's something
Wow.
huge for, the city of Youngstown. And so I go, and then like she's giving me a tour, like, and it was other people there too. So it wasn't like it was just me. And then so her and I kind of just wandered off. And then she was like, this is the space. She was like, I don't really know what we're gonna do with it. And then she was like, do you see yourself being in this space? And I kind of like I kind of looked at her like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't know you knew. And then she was like, yeah, they told me that you've been looking for space. And she's like, we're not going to use this. And we would love to give you like an opportunity to, to make dope cider house and winery happen. So,
Wow.
like it's like a few months later after that, like everything was worked out and I signed a lease, and here we are, like maybe a couple months out from grand opening if everything keeps moving the way it's moving. And yeah, so like 5 years of, a lot of ups and downs, and
Yeah.
it's finally gonna happen. So
I mean, this is like movie material. It really is. And, we kind of talked about it off camera, offline a
yeah.
little bit. But when you and I had met and you had the wine, and we have a friend who also has a wine product and whose family had a winery, and during that time we kind of joked, we're like, yeah, you don't have a winery to fall back on, like, you don't have that leg up or
Yeah.
that foot in the door.
Yeah.
You were starting really at the bottom.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and so people might see you right now and go, "Oh, wow, well, she's
Yeah.
just making cider and she's got a space." You
Uh-huh.
make it look easy, Hannah.
God. It is like, thankful for the good lighting that, you can't probably see any gray hairs that may be up there, but it is just like it's like, growing up, we always like, it was like a saying that, we said around like, it takes a village. Like, I grew up with like my first cousins, like felt like we grew up like siblings, like brothers and sisters. That's how close we were. And it's just like, it kind of was like, even from jump from that class when I met you, Marissa, who we talked about from the winery, she was always like, anything you need. Like, I would message her on Facebook, ask like random questions. I went out there, take tours. And it was just like any question, any random question that I had that popped in my head, she would answer it. Or if she didn't have the answer, she sent me to somebody who had it. So it was like, and you would think like sometimes people think you're in the same city, or in a sense the same city, like are they like but they're sharing information, sharing resources, and being open to it, because it was more like Marissa was like, I want you to succeed. And she's still like that. I we were emailing a little bit earlier today, and she's still that same person. Like, she's like, I want you to succeed. And it's like, sometimes you hear people say that and they don't really mean it. But she has literally meant it, and she is showing me every step of the way.
No, Marissa is awesome, and I think honestly, like that's just who she is. She's just authentic and real, and I know my niece works for her now and loves working for her, has
Yeah.
amazing things to say, and which isn't a surprise because she's always just so sweet and kind. The one theme that I keep hearing on every piece of your journey that you're sharing is collaboration. It seems like your industry that everybody really lifts each other up and supports each other. It doesn't, and I don't know if there is like that competitor, like, oh no, I don't want to compete with her or him, or, if there's that negativity in that. But it just seems like for the majority, everybody's really helping each other to help each other grow.
Yeah, and you would think like it would be more like that, more of a competitive nature, because you think of, again, like we're in a small community
Yeah.
here, but it's just like it probably could be some competitiveness, but I also think like everybody's palate is different. Like,
Yes.
I've already had people years ago, before I've even had a door to open, tell me like, I don't drink Ohio wines. I hate Ohio wines. Like, so it's like,
Really?
yeah, before people already, people are like serious about their wine. And
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. But so yeah, it's just like everybody's palate is different. And then learning, like, even in the beer industry, like not everybody's beer tastes the same. We can have
So
the
true.
same exact recipe, and our beers taste completely different. And we had the same recipe. And I learned that big on like two projects I worked on while at Modern Methods. The collaboration that we had with Birdfish, it was a sour called Sour Ranger. We brewed it at Birdfish, and we also brewed it at Modern Methods. And they actually taste different, and
Really?
they were a little different in color. And it's all kind of just it. I believe it came down to like the water. We may have, I'm not 100% sure, used maybe a different brand malt, but I don't think so. But it was just like those little slight differences, and like if you tasted them side by side, you probably would have been like, hey, these taste different. But I know, like, I believe we canned the Birdfish version, and then we kegged our version. But so we probably didn't have them together. And then it was a nationwide collaboration that everyone did. It was called Black is Beautiful, and it was a beer, that a recipe from a brewer and owner of a brewery in Texas called Weathered Souls. He came out with this recipe and just wanted to just raise money for your local nonprofits that tried to that did anything in, like, promoting diversity, or anything with like fighting for any injustices within people of color. And it was a nationwide, it became a national wide thing.
Wow.
Over 1,000 breweries participated in this. And I got as many like Black is Beautifuls as possible. And I got quite a few from the state of Ohio, the different breweries that participated. And no one's taste the same. Like you got the opportunity to add anything you wanted, or you can keep it natural to the recipe. And I could tell you like I they definitely, you wouldn't think it was the same recipe, but it was. So it's like
Interesting.
it's cool things like that. And again, like it's like the craft community is very, I feel like very close knit, and I see that in different places that I've traveled, and even the people who kind of reached out to me from the cider convention that I went to, they were there to offer their support. Again, they've been doing this for years, and they're like, hey, whatever you need, any questions, here's my card, email. So
That's
it's like
awesome.
I'm very thankful, because like you would think someone would be like, oh, I don't want her to succeed. I'm not gonna tell her anything. But everybody has been, pretty much, with some of the questions that I've asked, have been pretty open and willing to help. So
That
I'm
is
thankful
so
for that.
cool. So what's next for Dope Brands?
Oh, finishing up these renovations. It's really at the end. It's like right now I'm just waiting for a permit to get some sinks hooked up. Once my water gets hooked up in the facility, I can bring my fermenters over and get the possibly get the temporary licenses to actually start making cider. And and so like I said, like hopefully in the next month and a half, everything will be completely done. Like they're painting now. The ceilings will go in once the painting's done. And then it's just like the person that's building my bar, he's almost done. So it's like things like that are finally starting to come together, for myself, as well as, Penguin City next door. And it's like, we're just like, and I'm just like, I just need, like, I see money going out. I was like, I just need something to come in. I was like, my bank is probably like, yo, this is a business account and nothing's coming in. You're probably like, whoever's looking at that's probably just shaking their head like, I don't know what's
Oh, I'm sure they know. I'm sure they know. Now, will you be able to go in and order a drink in that
Yes.
facility?
Mhm. Yeah, so I'll have
Okay.
a tap room space. I'm not sure how many people will be able to fit, but I know my bar will be able to seat at least 10 to 15 people at
Oh,
the bar.
nice.
And so I'm whatever, still trying to figure out like the final details of like the other furniture pieces that I want in there. But I definitely wanted to, I don't know if you remember like my pitch from back then 5 years ago. I was like, I always said I wanted a coffee house filled with a happy hour vibe.
Well,
So,
yeah.
so I
I love
definitely,
that.
yeah, I want people to come in, like for it to be okay for you to come in with your laptop, like maybe have a business meeting or something, just be comfortable. If you want to read a book, but you want to have a glass of wine, you want to have a glass of cider, and you can do it in my space and not feel uncomfortable, not feel like the odd person at the bar reading a book. So that's the vibe that I'm definitely going for. And again, like I didn't say it earlier in the podcast, but DOPE stands for dwelling on positive energy.
I was
So
gonna ask you.
yeah, so it's definitely, you want that feel. I want people to feel very welcome and comfortable and want to come back.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, you are your brand. I mean, you are so positive and you've got those good vibes. So, I mean, perfect name. How did you come up with that?
Um, it was crazy. It's like I knew I wanted dope. It was just a word I just always have used probably forever. And it was just like, still kind of like a retro word because it was a word of the 80s. And then I was like, I was like, it has to have a meaning. I was like, it has to be something positive. So I actually like got some feedback from my brother. Actually, just like my brother is a very talented and amazing writer, but he doesn't do that as a profession. But it's just something that's natural to him as a poet. And I was like, hey, this is what I want. it has to be positive. And literally probably like 5 minutes later, he like texted me back. He was like dwelling on positive energy. And I was like,
Don't you
perfect.
hate people like that?
I know. And I was like, I've been thinking for a long time. I was just like, well, at least I got one word out of it. I
Yeah.
can do positive. I can own that one right there.
The
Um,
most important one.
yeah. So then and everything kind of flowed from there. It's like even the people who did like my first logo, it's a heart shape, but spelled out the word dope. And I just knew, and I kind of just explained to them the meaning, and pretty much everything that I want to do or that I do does come from the heart. And so I didn't even have that design in mind. I didn't even think that was possible. And when they sent it to me and it was shaped like a heart, I was like, oh, that's perfect. And so, and even now, like the heart for the Cider House logo is a little different. It's like a layered heart. And we kind of like when he presented it to me, his name is Michael, and he actually did the Penguin City logo. And
Is that
he,
Ponticus?
yeah, Michael
I went
Fonticus.
to school with
Yeah.
him. I think they're cousins. If
Yeah, so and instantly
He's
it was
good.
like he showed it to me. Like he
Yeah.
kind of took from the original logo, listened to what I said when he came out with it, and I saw it was like the layers, and he was like, I was like, he was like, we can also play with it. He's like, we can change the colors, like if or anything, like we changed the colors for Pride because it was like multi layers of it. And I was like, that's kind of the same thing about a heart. Your heart changes, your
Yeah.
color,
Oh, oh,
things
that's
like that.
good.
Yeah. So I was just like, so it went perfect with that because again, like, the heart is like, very sensitive organ
Yeah.
and like, but we all have one. We all use it, whether it's if it's cold or warm or like right in between. So it was just like, it fell in perfectly. Again, like I felt like I didn't give him much guidance, but again, like someone with that type of talent can kind of, and I don't have that, can take what I didn't even envision and turned it into something amazing that I love. Like I said, I love both my heart logos, and so
Yeah.
and they're both a part of me. So, but yeah, so that's kind of that story, that dope story.
I love that. That is I love everything about this conversation. Just your whole journey, where you are right now, everything that's happening is just so exciting. And I shared with you, like I just sit back because you are in Youngstown, Ohio, which is where I live the majority of my life. I'm now in Florida, and I'm just like watching you, and I'm like, go girl, like cheering for you, like you got this,
Thank you.
keep going, and it's so cool. It really is. It's really
Thank
cool
you.
to just watch you just grow into this whole brand, this whole business, and just everything we talked about 5, 6, 7 years ago, whenever that was, just
Yeah.
come into fruition. And it's
Yes.
like your dreams, I get to watch your dreams come true. And it's really, really cool to do that.
Yeah. And it's definitely like I play a good part of it. Like I said, when I said I was gonna give up and hang it up, it was like it's still like people like you and like again, like my friends and family, you guys have always been like a constant support or that that cheering squad that I like, you don't think that you need, but you're right there. It's just like you're that part of the subconscious that, is just keeping me going and have kept me going for, all this time. And I thank you. I mean, you don't understand. Like and like
Oh,
you said, you were there from like my little placemat business papers. So
oh,
and like
no,
again
it's
and like
awesome.
and I appreciate all the, the prayers of support, the cheers, like,
Absolutely.
I thank you.
Absolutely. I can't wait to come and visit your tap room. I'm going
No,
to
I
be
can't
up
wait.
there this month later. I don't know if it'll be open yet or not, but maybe when,
You
no,
can come
probably not.
see it still. You can pray. You can
You know
say like, I
what?
was
I may
here.
do that. I may reach out to you so
Yeah.
you can ignore my messages
Yeah.
again. And no,
Never.
I'm kidding.
I'm like, you can come see it with the dust on the ground.
I don't care. I don't care. So, one last question. If somebody is listening in and they are thinking of starting, whether it is beer or cider or wine, what advice do you have for them to help them along their way?
I would say if that's where they want to go, fermentation and beer, wine, cider industry, do it. And this don't look at like the big picture. When I mean the big picture, like the people who are already well established and everything, just think that they've started somewhere. Like pretty much every brewery or craft brewery that you had, they were a home brewer at one point. I was a home winemaker at one point. So it's like everyone started somewhere, and just don't give up, and just learn from like what you've heard me say throughout this podcast is, not to give up, and, just don't do it. Just keep going. And then don't be afraid to reach out to that local business, and, just talk and ask questions, because you will be surprised as to how open and nice people are. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So Hannah, how can they find Dope Brands if they want to purchase? Because you've got clothing too. You've got a whole. Yeah, we didn't talk about that, but you've got a lot of things happening with Dope Brand.
Yeah, I have some merch. I have some T-shirts, sweatshirts. Definitely more to come as I get open and, start to expand that part. But pretty much my website is under construction. So, and I'm actually working on that. So please pray for me with that, with that website.
Well, you can always reach out to me too, to help you if you get stuck on something. I'm here.
Say less. So, but pretty much like you can, my Instagram is Dope the Brand on Instagram. I'm very active on there. And then Facebook is, the Dope Brand on Facebook. So, but either way, or then also, or email me, but you can get my email from the Instagram. But yeah, just follow that journey. It's pretty fun.
I love it. Well, all of the links to reach out to Hannah and the Dope Brand will be in the show notes, and they're also on the blog. So if you hop over to the website, whether you're watching the video on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast, you have everything you need to reach out to Hannah and the Dope Brands. Hannah, thank you so much for joining me. I love seeing you. I really, really do. I'm cheering for you back here.
We miss you up here.
Who?
So, I said we miss you up here.
Oh, so, well, I'm coming in this month, so we have to get together one day to get together.
The old crew back together.
Right? That'd be great. Yes. To get everybody, Marissa and Audra, and everybody. Tari, is Tari working for you?
Yes, Tari, yep.
That girl can sing.
Amazing gift.
Amazing.
Again, she can bake cookies, but she can sing even better.
She can. You're right. Yeah. She can do it all. Yeah. I'm gonna have to get Tari on here too.
Yes, you do. Like she, she's definitely still moving and shaking and doing and again, she's a constant person, someone who I became close to from that original we class, and her and I still reach out to her and pick her brain and things like that.
Oh, that's so cool though. The We program through YBI brought so many women together, and it's awesome to see so many years later that all those friendships are still thriving.
Still thriving, and I appreciate everyone from that. Again, it's just we are all on the same journey, and again, like I said, that program brought me to you, or you to me, so and things like that. So it's very that was another important part, of this journey that I'm on, are those connections and those people that I met during that program. So
definitely. Well, Hannah, thank you again for coming on. I appreciate you joining in. And everybody else, we will see you next week at the same time. We'll see ya.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others or post about it on social media. I would love if you can even leave a rating or a review. The more ratings that I have, the more people that this podcast will reach. To catch the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at carbonsilk.digital or my personal Instagram account, Deanna Hens. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.